up, Swashbucklers? You're listening to Under the Crossbones, episode number 116. My name is Phil Johnson. I'm your host for the show. Thanks for tuning in. Coming to you live from Disney World today, Magic Kingdom. Why? Why am I here? Why am I doing this now? Because I'm multitasking, you guys. I needed to get some work done while I'm having some fun. So I just finished my shows in Orlando, Florida here. Good shows. Thank you, Pirates, for coming out. Interesting. I haven't played Florida in quite a long time, so I had to get used to that Florida audience again, figure out how to work with them. And first show, ate it hard for about the first 3 minutes. Not sure what happened there, but came back. That's the nice thing about doing a full hour on stage. Is you get a little extra chance to wrap it up. You get 57 more minutes to save it when you eat it for the first 3. So I took some time to come to Disney World today. Thank you to Mark Miller from Rusty Cutlass for making this happen. Came in to talk to Mark today, do a little interview for him. You're going to hear that in a few weeks. I'm going to catch up with the other guys in the band tonight. Rusty Cutlass is the pirate band that plays at Disney World, if you've not seen them before. They're really, really fun. They play corporate events and festivals and all that kind of stuff, too, but they were born here at Disney World, and so this was a perfect place to do it. We talked right in front of Pirates of the Caribbean, which, yes, I did go on, and so that's been fun. And on today's show, we got Mark Axton and Dan Clark from the Swashbucklers Ball in Portland, Oregon. Yes, Swashball. You know Swashball. It is sort of it's pirate prom is what they call it. And if you've not been, I hear it's a really cool event. I haven't made it out there yet, but I'm planning on doing so pretty soon. And so we're going to talk to Mark and Dan today about how Swashball came about, how it's lasted 8 years, what they've learned, all that kind of good stuff, the charity work they do with it, what you can expect when you go to Swashball, which you will. I know you will. So we're going to hear from those guys here in a few minutes. We've got a new sponsor on the show today. That sponsor is TeePublic. And I have hand-curated for you over 100 really super awesome pirate shirts that if you have not checked them out yet, you really, really should. And TeePublic works with a whole bunch of independent artists, and they pay them fairly, and they pay them well, and they give me a little piece of the action when you go buy a T-shirt. So that's cool. I have, like I said, hand-curated, picked out myself a whole bunch of really cool pirate T-shirts for you. Sexy ones, funny ones, scary ones, all sorts of stuff. Ooh, Mickey Mouse pretzel. I might have to get one of those before I leave today. Love pretzels. Love Mickey Mouse pretzels. They're so good. And so anyway, go visit TeePublic. You can do that at underthecrossbones.com/shirt. That's underthecrossbones.com/shirt. Here we are. This is episode 116. I forgot to give you the fun fact about 116. Here's the fun fact about 116. It's about 75 degrees here in Florida right now. Feels like 116. It's warm. It's moist. It's a moist. Florida's a moist place. And I understand now when they say it's a dry heat. That's better. Yeah, I have been moist all day. It's wet. It's crazy. What? I don't even know what this is. Oh, this is Splash Mountain, but it doesn't appear to be open because there's no water in the flue, and you can't have a log flue without water in it. I guess that doesn't work. Anyway, so shows were good. Disney World is good. You can catch me coming up this Thursday, the whatever the heck it is. Choo-choo train. This Thursday I'll be at Tessera's. That's a wine bar in Campbell, California. Got some Oakland dates coming up, some California stuff, Minnesota, Wisconsin, a whole bunch of stuff. You can go check out my tour dates. Just go to underthecrossbones.com, click on the tour dates button, and that will tell you all where I am going to be telling jokes and singing songs near you. And that will be fun. If you're enjoying the show, be sure to come visit us on Facebook. That's facebook.com/underthecrossbones, twitter.com/undercrossbones, and of course you can get all the show notes for this show at underthecrossbones.com/116. Make sure you visit the sponsors and the support page, underthecrossbones.com/support. It's a PayPal box. You can drop whatever you want in there. There's an Amazon banner. You can click that, buy yourself something nice, and they give me a little piece of the action. Or if you want to be a sponsor of the show, that is cheap and easy. Would just contact me from there. We'll get you all set up. If you got something that you think pirates would like, I can help you with that. All right, so I'm going to go get in line for Big Thunder Mountain Railroad right now. And I'll talk to you guys. Listen to the interview with Mark and Dan from Swashbucklers Ball. And by the time I get out of the line, you guys should probably be done with the interview. All right? That sounds like a deal, doesn't it? So let's do that. I'm going to go get in line. You listen to the interview. Here we go. This is Mark and Dan from Swashbucklers Ball, Portland, Oregon. Mark and Dan from the Swashbucklers Ball and many other piratey things in the Portland area. Tell me, because the ball is this weekend, Give me a little rundown of what people can expect when they visit the Swashbucklers Ball.
Well, that's a good question. We like to call this kind of Portland's pirate prom.
Okay,
I guess is kind of the best way that's the what I describe it to people in 5 words or less. It's like pirate prom. So, this is our 8th year doing the Swashbucklers Ball, and It started as a excuse to have a party and make a little bit of money for a charity, and it's turned into this, now 8 years later, this kind of regal, kind of prom-esque feel where a lot of people spend, a lot of our attendees come in, they spend all year planning their attire, their dress, and it's a big kind of fancy drunken night out full of pirates.
Just like a prom.
Exactly. Yeah,
exactly. But with pirates.
But with pirates, yes. And so at the event, what kind of things go on? I know you got bands and things like that. So what can people expect to experience there?
Well, we've expanded this year. We have actually 3 floors of piratical goodness this year.
Neat.
We've got below decks bar, and that's a more intimate setting. And the Bilge Rats and Pirates are playing down there, along with PDX Yar. And Bergamot Burlesque will be performing down there in that sort of intimate setting. And then on the main ballroom floor, we have Coming Up Threes and Shervona, and also another show by Bergamot Burlesque. And then upstairs, there's going to be the Crow's Nest, where there's dining and food being vended, and there'll be musical acts up there. Off of the main ballroom is also the Admiralty Pub, which is a VIP hangout area that's sort of off of the main floor where people can talk and hang out, and there'll be music in there as well. That act is Biddy on the Bench.
Yeah, so basically, we have basically 3 stages, well, 4 stages technically if you count the Admiralty Pub. When you come into the event, we sell tickets for VIPs, which include a seat at a table, and then your first couple of rounds are covered, and you get free food and all kinds of stuff. But really, the cool thing about Swashball, I think, is that anybody, if you buy a ticket, you get access to basically the entire area. So you get access to all 3 floors, all 3 stages. The only place that's VIP exclusive is the Admiralty Pub, which is new this year. When you walk in, the goal of the event for us initially was to get people kind of mingling and walking around, and every floor they would go to would have a different theme, and it would be a different experience. And so places to sit, but why would you sit down? There's too much to see.
That sounds great. So it's at the Melody Ballroom. How big a place is that?
It's enormous. Yeah, it's big. We pack in somewhere between 800 to 900 pirates in the Melody Ballroom, and I feel like they've. So there was 2 years ago that the fire marshal came and said, "You have too many people here. We're going to shut you down." So I thought that was a success.
Good problem.
Yeah, it's probably the only standalone ballroom in Portland that's big enough for our event. We've looked around, and we've not really found anything comparable to it that will hold us.
Yeah, and the Melody's this kind of great old building in Portland that is it's got a lot of history too, which is kind of amazing. So it's been around since the 50s, I think, maybe even earlier than that. And the ballroom itself, the main ballroom, hasn't really changed. They just did some renovation, and so they've made a little bit of changes. But the ballroom itself and the floor and stuff is pretty much the same space that it's been. And it used to be a really, really popular concert venue. So bands like the Grateful Dead have played there, and some other really, really high profile. It used to be a punk venue for a long time, which I think is crazy.
Neat.
Yeah, so Rancid played there. It was crazy. So it's the same kind of this old, kind of really elegant feel when you walk. It's a wedding venue now mainly, but we're one of the few big concert events that come in and actually do shows in the Melody. So we've always kind of thought that we would have to bring pirate flags and barrels and decor to make it feel piratey, but the ballroom kind of does that on its own just because it feels old and awesome. So.
Yeah, it's elegant in a way that makes it feel like we kind of took over the governor's mansion in Tortuga or something. So it has that feeling to it.
Nice.
It does feel a little too classy for us, yeah.
Nothing's too classy for pirates. Come on. So you said it's the 8th year. Now, what was the genesis of this event? So 8 years ago, why did you guys decide to put this together?
Well, Mark and I got really drunk. And
No, that was after the first one, if you'll remember.
Oh, that's what it was, yeah.
We used to have an event here in Portland when Captain Bog and Salty was still a thing, called Festival de Piratas, and it was a pirate music event that they usually held in a bar somewhere. It wasn't huge, but it was big, and I mean it was fun, and it was piratey, and everybody had a good time. And then they, when they disbanded, actually before they even disbanded, they stopped doing it, and I'd always missed it, and I wanted to do something like that. I'd always wanted to kind of revive it, and then after the I think it was the 3rd year of the Portland Pirate Festival. They took Kate and Shuri took a huge hit with the weather. They had a torrential downpour, and they lost a significant amount of money on that festival. And we wanted to help them out, as well as a lot of the artists and vendors and people who had been involved with the festival wanted to try and help them out a little bit. So the first ball, basically the excuse for it was to try and raise some money to help out the Portland Pirate Festival.
Okay.
But it became a thing where we would support a different charity every year. After that, we just decided to keep doing it, and now we support a different charity every year.
That's great. Who's this year's charity?
It's a Wild Lilac Child Development Community out in the Woodstock neighborhood of Portland. They're a sort of an alternative day school for young kids, and they've been a great partner with us so far.
Fantastic. So after the first one, was it that it was so popular and so well received that you wanted to do another one again, or was it a challenge and you said, nah, we got to do this again?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's kind of, so maybe that's when me and Mark got drunk. Because we did the first one and we threw it together in, gosh, I don't even know, it was maybe 3 or 4 weeks, a very small amount of time where the need presented itself, and then we thought, well, maybe we could actually throw this big kind of stupid pirate party that everybody can come to. Because November is a little late in the pirating season, as it were. There's no more rent fairs or festivals, and so people are kind of, they pack their tricorn away and they huddle down until spring. And so we wanted to do kind of end of year, big celebration, kind of see everyone again that we hang out with over the summer. So we did it, and people came to us and thought they talked less about the money raising aspect and more about how they loved how great of a party it was. Uh-huh. And they were really excited to see us next year. And so Mark and I looked at each other like, well, shit, I guess we're going to have to do this again. So we did a little more planning for a year or two. And then it's just kind of taken off from there. Every year at the end of it, we kind of sit down over a pint and look at each other and decide if we want to do it again. And the answer inevitably is yes. And so here we are 8 years later. It's kind of crazy.
It's a huge amount of work. It's a big undertaking. And yet one of the things that surprises us year after year is despite how much work we put into it and how big of a drain it can be, it's so much fun. And it's so gratifying to walk through the ballroom and have people stop us and say, thank you, I'm having such a great time, and we're really glad to be back, and just having everybody appreciate it so much, and it's kind of addictive.
Yeah. We also have the benefit as organizers of remaining sober the entire time, so we have a clearer memory of what happens at the event.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, welcome to the world of performers. That's why we end up doing that kind of thing, is because that kind of reaction is addictive, sometimes to our detriment. But I totally get that. That's very cool. Now, how much has it grown over the last 8 years? Was it much, much smaller that first year? Second year? Yeah,
the first year was, we were at the Melody that first year, and we just had entertainment on the main stage, the main ballroom floor, and then we downstairs we did kind of a little pirates market. So we brought vendors in, and people could shop and buy stuff. Okay. And what we found out after that first year was that no one comes to this event to buy. This event, drink, dance, and see and be seen. So we ditched and then the vendors that were downstairs felt terrible because they didn't get to see anything. So we ditched that idea and we expanded to below decks now, what we call the below decks bar. And that became immensely popular. People wanted to have, that was much more of we talk about like the different feels of the different floors. Like, so the main deck and the main floor is kind of this regal, kind of traditional ball-like atmosphere where people are dancing, and below decks is kind of the smoky grungy pirate pub where people were laughing and yelling, and there's a bar right there, and that you're almost right up on the stage. So by creating those two separate feels at the two different levels, and knowing that you could walk in between those two and check out everything, that really kind of redefined what the ball could be, and we've kind of built on that every year. And now we're adding the third floor this year, and we're adding a VIP lounge this year. So we're hoping that same feel kind of transcends across these new locations and these new stages too.
That sounds like so much fun. It really, really does. What kind of challenges have you guys had with this event over the years? What things have you had where you go, oh boy, maybe this isn't worth it?
Well, we learned real fast that vending wasn't a thing. We thought maybe it would be sort of like a mini pirate festival. So we learned really quickly that wasn't what people were looking for. But another thing we learned that was really interesting is for many years we worked really hard at bringing in the biggest name bands we could afford from out of town, because we were hoping that they would use their sort of marketing expertise and their fan base to bring more people in who maybe wouldn't necessarily have been interested in a pirate event, but are going to see them in particular. And we discovered that that's just not really a big draw. It is a music event, and the music is important, but we find that using local bands works just as well for us, and that the bigger bands weren't bringing in the crowds that we were hoping they would.
Yeah, I totally understand that. Yeah,
and that was a thing, like Mark's saying, that I was very surprised, because I by being basically an event promoter and essentially a concert promoter, I was in a really unique position to be able to start booking all of my favorite bands. All this cool music I listen to, bands like Tempest and the Young Dubliners and the Paperboys and Abney Park, and some of these bigger name bands. I had the means to put them on stage at a show that I was promoting or producing. I thought that was really cool. So we tried that a lot. I mean, a lot. And what we found was that we did get Young Dubliners were on stage, and they're a pretty big band, and they have a pretty big high price tag, and it didn't create the increase of attendance that we were expecting. We still got the same people who were still excited, but it didn't really matter to them what the band was that was on stage, as long as it was danceable and fun.
Right.
So what we came down to this year is we booked all local bands. Bands like Shervona, which is kind of a Gogol Bordello style, kind of gypsy punk almost,
nice.
which is great. And they played our show basically every year. And a band Coming Up Threes, which is your more traditional kind of Irish, kind of fast Irish. There's a guy who plays the spoons in the band, which is great. They're kind of the house band for the big Irish pub in Portland, Kells. And bands like that one, they cost less because they're local.
Sure.
And two, they have kind of more of a reach in this town because people know them. And they come to it, and our attendees and the pirates that come to it, have heard these guys before and are really excited every time they see them. And we kind of lean more on that level of entertainment than bringing in the big name band. I still have grand plans one day to book Great Big Sea at a show that I do, but I don't think that this is the venue for it. So
that being said, if we were ever to be able to pull together a reunion of Captain Bog and Salty, we would do it in a heartbeat, because we'd sell out.
Don't we email Lauren and Kevin every year saying, "Hey guys, if you want a headline, you can have the show"?
Yeah. We would sell out in days if we did that.
Yeah, I that totally makes sense, because I think if somebody were to say, "Oh, the Young Dubliners are coming to town. Oh, they're playing this pirate event. Oh man, I gotta get dressed up. I gotta get special clothes." If they're not already in that scene, that is a barrier to entry, essentially. Whereas if you've got a local group that crowd is already familiar with, then they go, "Oh, great, we already know that band. We already have the clothes. We're going." So it does make sense to keep it more local like that, I think.
Yeah, but our hope is always that we have the people that we call the usual suspects. There's 200 or so people who will always come no matter what, and they always have. They haven't missed one in 8 years, and they'll always come. And then we have the more fringy people who pirate every now and then, but they're not as serious about it. But our hope is always to get people in the door that think to themselves, "Ooh, dress up like a pirate and listen to music. That sounds like fun." And they go out and they put together the best pirate costume they can, and and then they show up and they're blown away by the fact that there are people who really do this. And then all of a sudden we start seeing them in subsequent years. There are people in the pirate community that came into it because of the Swashbucklers Ball, and that's what we're always trying to stretch to find, is that audience. We want to find the people who it never occurred to them that this was something they could do.
Yeah, and I think that's to kind of go off what Mark was saying, that our goal has always been like what we get the crowd that we get, and those pirates are awesome, and they end up being like basically mobile set pieces at this event because there's some really amazing costumes and garb that people put together for this event. But I want the person who's flipping through the paper and saying, "Oh man, what is this pirate event on Saturday? I want to go check that out," and just shows up. I think some of the most amazing costumes that I've seen have been from people that have just decided on Friday they were going to come to the Swash Ball on Saturday. We had a gal who she actually signed up to volunteer for us and had never been to a pirate event before, and this is 3 years ago, and worked her volunteer shift and then disappeared. And I was like, oh man, I was hoping she was going to hang out and enjoy. And she came back dressed as, I kid you not, Peter Pan. And she just ran around Swash Ball in this room full of pirates as Peter Pan. And it was like one of the best costumes I've ever seen. She was just totally in character as Peter Pan.
That's so great. And I suppose, have you had to deal with sort of the Ren Fair people trying to infiltrate, just like pirates infiltrated the Ren Fairs?
We'll take their money too. That's fine. I got no problem with that.
Do you have a percentage of people that come in for the event from out of town?
Yeah, we do.
Yes, a small percentage. It's grown over the past few years. We draw from Seattle. They got a fairly big kind of Ren Fair and pirate community up there. Some of the Seafair Pirates, the Seattle Seafair Pirates, will come down and have helped us out at the event in the past.
We get pirates from Canada. We get Gertie and some of her crew come down, and we get pirates, even a few from the East Coast have come. They have somebody who regularly comes from Boston just to show up for it.
That's really cool. So let's dig back into your guys' history a little bit. How did you guys get into the pirate thing? Where do you come from? All that kind of stuff.
Oh, Dan, you start.
Oh, my goodness. Mark, you don't go first on that. Oh, you want me to start? All right, I'll go. I probably started, honestly, so my kind of entrance into the pirate community and dressing up in a pointy hat for fun. Starts back with the old Portland Pirate Festival, which Mark talked about earlier. And I went to that on its first year, which was 2008, 7, 6, something like that.
Sounds about right.
2006. We'll call it 2006. It was a one-day show out under a bridge in Portland at this park, and I went to on a whim because I had seen the Pirates of the Caribbean movie. I'll admit to it, and I thought, well, this is kind of cool. And I was kind of into the Ren Fair stuff a little bit, and much more into kind of Mountain Man Rendezvous stuff, because I enjoyed firing black powder and had a history of doing that when I was a kid.
Okay.
And went and saw somebody fire a cannon, and I was like, oh man, I can fire a cannon? Like, that's a thing you can do in front of people? And at that point, really, I was like, my fate was sealed. There was no going back. And I kept coming back every year after year, to the Portland Pirate Festival. And, with every year, my garb got a little better, my character got a little more defined. And then ended up starting my own pirate crew, PDXR, with a couple of friends. And that grew into be its own kind of crazy tentacle beast. And it's kind of taken off on its own. And here I am. But I blame the Portland Pirates Festival. Actually, I blame Johnny Depp. I will admit to it. I'm not afraid to say that. As much as I enjoyed, doing the thing and having not be associated with those movies, it presented me with an opportunity to really kind of get into a community that I would have otherwise never even considered.
Certainly, yeah. Tell me a little bit more about PDXR. What does the group do?
PDXR, we were founded back in 2008 as kind of amusingly enough as a gaming group. So we were a bunch of guys that really enjoyed playing tabletop board games, and there was a really popular pirate-themed tabletop board game at the time, and so we would get together every week and play. And the more that the guys in the group kind of looked around and saw this pirate reenactment community, we were like, well, we should do that. We should dress up as pirates while we're playing this game. We did that, and then we started getting approached by different events saying, hey, could you guys bring your pirates and your game and stuff and do that at our event? We're like, sure. And then at some point we just dropped the gaming aspect and became a performance group. And now we're going to be celebrating our 10th year here next year. The crew's been around for 10 years, and we're the largest active crew in Portland, and one of the largest crews on the West Coast. We've got an active membership of about 50 pirates, and we do a lot of black powder. We have the largest gunnery line on the West Coast. I feel confident saying that. I served as captain of the crew for the first 6 years, and now we elect a new captain every year. And our current captain, Biscuit, has not regretted his election yet, so good for him. But yeah, but it's become this kind of self-sufficient group of drunken pirates that gets hired to do events, which still astonishes me that people pay us to. We did the Tall Ship Festival in Tacoma and in Coos Bay this year. We've done stuff with OMSI. We've gone up to Seattle. So yeah, we're a fully functional pirate crew right now.
That's very cool. So initially, back when you were doing the Ren Fair stuff and the Mountain Man stuff, what was the attraction to that originally, but besides being able to shoot things?
Well, black powder is always a really strong attractor for me. So
okay.
Having an opportunity to dig into the history of black powder was something I was always fascinated with. And I did more of the Mountain Man stuff than I did Ren Fair. Like I went to a couple of Ren Fairs and I enjoyed dressing up in costumes, and I'm kind of a big character anyway. So that was the thing that got me into. But I was never really the Mountain Man community is largely a bunch of old guys, and I was kind of the kid in that, so it didn't really hold my interest outside of being able to go and fire my flintlock every once in a while. And the Ren Fair community was very insular, and there was, unless you were part of a guild or whatever, it took a really hard time for you to kind of show up and do your own thing. And the pirate community was the first place that I was able to kind of show up, do my own thing, be largely accepted by other crews, and then have a level of creativity that I didn't feel like I had in some of the other communities.
That's interesting. That's really cool. All right, Mark, let's hear your origin story.
Well, it's only slightly more complicated. I lived in LA for about 10 years back in the 90s, and during that time I was actually performing in Ren Fairs occasionally, and got to hang out with, although I was never really accepted by it, got to hang out with the Sea Dogs, which was the Elizabethan take on the pirates. But they were a lot of fun, and I always wanted to try and get in with them, and never quite did. But occasionally there would be other costume events, and one of my costumes of choice was a pirate that I would just put together. But it never occurred to me that I could just do that, and I wasn't surrounded by people who were just pirates, and that was their regular reoccurring thing. So I had my outfit and enjoyed it when I could, but it wasn't a persona, I guess, at that point. Then years later, I moved to Portland, and I was actually spending a lot of time with a group called the Cacophony Society. It's a bunch of urban pranksters who just did all kinds of crazy fun stuff. They were the originators of SantaCon that you'll see in a lot of cities. The San Francisco Cacophony Society started it, and it picked up very strongly here in Portland. And so there were, costume sort of culture jamming events. And a few people who were involved with Cacophony also were doing some pirate stuff. It was right after the first movie came out, and the pirate community was starting to grow and become a viable actual thing. And so I got invited to go to a couple of events, including the first it might have been the first Festival de Pirata, and realized here are all these people that just do this all the time, and they're a lot of fun. But I felt way outclassed. I didn't have a particularly good outfit and didn't have a persona or anything. And then I sort of happened into a human hair ponytail.
Okay.
And I'm a bald fellow. I was looking at it and just thinking, this is interesting. What do we do with this? I thought about weaving it into my beard, or I don't know what, but it was long. It was about 16 inches long. And somebody said, it'd be funny if you glued that to your head. And I thought, yeah, that would be funny. And I just sort of jokingly did, and thought, this is interesting, and no one's ever done this before. And I think I'm gonna try this out with my pirate outfit. And I had a better pirate outfit by then. And I glued it onto my head, and that's how Top Knot was born. And the whole backstory behind him and why he wears his hair like that, and just everything that just sort of came from that. And I started working with a group here called Rifle Loot and Salvage, and with Pirates of Portlandia, doing all sorts of things with them and really getting into it. But I really always kind of wanted to have my own thing. And one year, I want to say it was the second year of the Portland Pirate Festival, I was realizing that the first year I had spent most of my time wandering around the festival looking for friends, the people I had met over the course of the year or the previous year in the pirate festivals that I'd gone to. And so I thought, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to find a way to make it so they come to me. And a friend of mine, Shayna Vest from DressedLikeAPirate.com, she had a booth at the festival, and she said, there's a booth right behind me that isn't going to show up, so there's a space that they don't have anybody for. So if you wanted to just hang out at there and maybe set something up, I bet you could do it. So I thought, yeah, I'll do that. So I put out a big piece of sailcloth, packed a big pirate picnic, all rustic foods like, a ham on a piece of wood with a knife in it, and some cheeses and big loaves of bread and some jugs of wine, and just sort of spread out this pirate picnic and waited for friends to come along. And they did. They found me because, you couldn't get past anywhere without seeing everything else. And they would sit and join me and hang out, and we'd eat and we'd sing sea shanties and tell stories and just be ourselves and just do what we enjoyed doing. And at one point I looked up and realized that across the way from us on the grass was a whole crowd of people that were sitting there watching us, doing what we wanted to do anyway. We weren't there as an act. We weren't doing it as an act. We were doing it because it was fun. And I thought, really? Is this all it takes? We just have to do what we have to just eat and drink and be pirates, and people will watch us. So the next year I asked for a space at the Pirate Festival, and we set up the first iteration of my ship, what's left of the Outrageous Fortune. The ship is the Outrageous Fortune, but our persona as a crew was, we are the laziest crew on the seven seas. We lost our ship, not in battle and not because it was confiscated by the Royal Navy, but because we just let it rot because we weren't very good at upkeep. And so our camp is what we could salvage from it. And we hang out trying to get our hands on another ship, but mostly just eating and drinking and telling dirty limericks and singing and stuff. And so we did that for a couple of years at the Pirate Festival. Then we upped our game and created a more comprehensive camp that was really eye candy. And for that, we started getting hired to do festivals, which was weird for us because it was never supposed to be a performance art thing. It was supposed to be and it's just an excuse for us to do what we wanted to do and have a place to hang out at a festival. And so we started getting hired, and so that's when we started really upping our game with Black Powder and doing it at the time Small Arms, and then we acquired one and then a second cannon, and so we do a few select festivals over the course of the year. Our camp's really hard to set up. It takes a lot of work and a lot of manpower, and we are the laziest crew on the seven seas. So when it involves work, we're very careful about what we take. Usually, it's PDXR's cast-offs. We do a lot of shows. We do a lot of festivals that PDXR won't do because the money's not good enough, or for whatever reason. So we take a lot of that stuff, and it works for us, and we have a good time.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that the Outrageous Fortune is out there because they have lower standards and work cheaper.
Oh, absolutely. We are, and also what we don't have is rehearsals or dues or any kind of real hierarchy. We have officers, but nobody really listens to them. And I'm the captain, and nobody ever really listens to me either. And somehow stuff gets done. So we have a good time.
And it all sounds very, very true to story too.
Yep.
That's so great. I love the laziest crew. Yes, I can get behind that. I really like that.
Laziest crew on the seven seas trademark. Yeah, we always.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that I've got a couple of my crew that have looked at what Top Knot's doing with Outrageous Fortune and think like, man, that looks like it's a lot easier. Like, you guys make us show up to meetings and rehearsals, and we have to pay dues and sign articles. Yeah, so it's at some point he's going to start undercutting my crew.
We do have a lot of crossover, though. When we do things and Yar isn't doing stuff or they're not involved with the event, a lot of Yar crew will just join us and hang out, and vice versa. I love to go out and do stuff with them. It's every now and then it's refreshing to do something a little bit more regimented than what we do. And then when on those rare occasions, and it is way too rare that we end up at the same event together, our crews play up a really great rivalry.
Nice.
That's just so fun. We have so much fun with it.
Fantastic.
We when we meet each other on the street, we insult each other, and every year when Yar votes in a new captain, I show up at the induction ceremony and give a speech on behalf of the crew of the Outrageous Fortune, and it's always just horrifically insulting to PDXR, to the captain, to their ship, to everything. But it's all couched in nice sounding language.
Uh-huh.
I like that you unfurled a scroll of parchment and read it off parchment this year. I think that was a nice classy touch.
Yeah.
That's great. So speaking of inductions, Dan has one coming up, yes?
Oh yeah. I guess I got to go climb the capstan and join the order. Kind of excited about it. Really excited about it. I'm stupid excited about it, actually.
I've been working for years for two inductions in a row since I got inducted. I've been working to get Dan recognized for everything he's done for the Portland and Northwest pirate community, and they finally saw the light.
Either they gave in or the bribe started working. I'm not sure which one.
So that's Order of Leviathan, of course, that we're talking about. Tell how does the induction, or how does the process for getting somebody into that work?
Mark, you might have a little better insight on that. All I know is that I got nominated, and then I got voted for, and I had to submit a couple of letters of recommendation, and then I had to write a backstory or a bio, and then I had to email it to a bunch of people, and then there was a vote, and then I got in. So, but Mark, maybe you can give a little more.
Yeah, it's basically it opens up initially to both members and the general pirate community to nominate people, and then those nominees get vetted by the current steering committee of the Order of Leviathan, and then those nominees get put before, and there's usually anywhere from 70 to 100 of them, and those get put before the general membership, and then we vote, and then a Leviathan happens. But there is a lot of documentation where the order is trying really to evolve into something really significant and relevant in the pirate community by bringing in the best and the brightest and the people who really bring something to the community. So that's why we request letters of recommendation and sort of bios, just so that it's not. We want it to not be perceived as just a popularity contest, but rather recognition for people's hard work in the pirate community. I know that I got in because of the work that I was doing on the Swashbucker's Ball for the most part, and so it was always just astonishing and kind of embarrassing to me that I was in and Dan wasn't. So I nominated. He was my nominee, my only nominee every year, and I just kept banging on it until they listened.
That's great. So Long Beach Pirate Festival next year is where they're going to do the inductions, right?
Yep. Sounds like, yeah. And I've never been down to that event, so I'm excited to go to the event regardless, just to kind of see how other folks do the pirate thing, or how I'm always fascinated by event management as well, because I'm that kind of a nerd. So to go and see and meet some folks that I've only met online and never met in person, guys like Talderoy and folks like that down in California, and then go to the induction on a boat and have my name called. It's pretty exciting stuff.
We're hoping to bring the Outrageous Fortune camp down there as well. Excited about having it on display, among the Southern California pirates and what we consider to kind of the big boys, the big guns the pirate community. It'll be exciting to be playing on that field.
Nice. Yeah, and I hear that Long Beach Festival is a really, really fantastic one. I'm going to try and make it down there next year too.
Right on.
So with the Swashbucklers Ball, do you guys have any sort of future plan for it? Is there a long-term plan for it, or do you kind of take it year to year?
Yes.
That's a good question.
Is yes. I think that one of the things that we've been interested in, and we haven't figured out how to do it yet, but is to try and make the Swashbucklers Ball more of a destination event where people really do come from all over, from out of town, and they know that there's a place to stay, and that maybe the ball is held at a hotel ballroom, and that way people can have room parties, and there can be smaller events, and maybe that's the place where there are vendors, and it becomes almost more of an off-season pirate festival with a ball. But that's just one of the things we've talked about.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, and it's the event itself. We're kind of at the capacity of what the venue will let us do. Like we're in basically this year every space in the venue that we could have some sort of programming. So we'll see how this year goes and how the audience reacts to it. There's not a lot of venues in Portland that will let us do the type of thing that we want to do. There's a lot of single floor venues, but because the nature of the event has always been this kind of free roaming walk around a corner and something new is happening, and less a traditional one stage, one floor event.
Sure.
The Melody has been so perfect for that. So if we could, for example, get into the Crystal Ballroom, which is one of the bigger spaces, the McMenamin spaces, that has multiple floors, that is more expensive, then that would allow us to have, increase our attendance from, say 800 folks to 1,500 folks or something like that. Then that's certainly an option. But I think long term, we do the show, and then we get together about a month after the show and think, well, should we do this again? And then we start talking about what it looks like for the next year. I always want to get bigger, but I also know that there is a plateau there where we're only going to get X amount of people.
Sure.
Unless we make it, like Mark says, some sort of a more destination event where we have a hotel that's part of it and that kind of a thing.
And we're just a couple of guys, we're not some big company,
right?
And so every year we basically reassemble our working from scratch, not from scratch. We've learned things, but we each one is brand new. It's not like we have the Swashbucklers Ball Corporation that's an ongoing thing and bringing in money all year long. I mean, the money comes from ticket sales and goes right up on the stage and into the ballroom and stuff. And so every year we start over again.
Nice. That's great. So that is happening this Saturday, November the 11th. And where's the best place for people to pick up tickets? I
would just go to swashbucklersball.com. It's got all the information about all the different performances that are happening, all the bands, the information about the charity, the raffle. And there's a big button on the front page that says "Buy tickets here." That'll take you to our ticketing site.
You can also find us on Facebook, Swashbucklers Ball, and the 2017 Swashbucklers Ball event.
Great. I will make sure that all that is linked up in the show notes. Plus, Outrageous Fortune, theoutrageousfortune.com and pdxr.org. Right, those are the right websites there.
Yep, those are the ones. Yeah.
Awesome. Good. We'll get that all in there. Great. Sounds good, you guys. And I think we are good. So thank you so much for coming on. Is there anything I didn't ask you about that you want everybody to know?
We can be bribed with alcohol when you come to the event. So,
that's right.
If you see us and want to buy us a drink, we will accept it.
We will accept it. Oh, and the other thing is that we are a charity event, and we are benefiting Wild Lilac this year. We have a raffle every year, and the proceeds of that raffle go to the charity. And so it's never too late if anyone wants to donate anything to the raffle. It's never too late for that, and they can just contact us through the website if they want to donate something, the sale of which will go towards Wild Lilac.
Fantastic. That's great. Yeah. That's great. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Woo! That was invigorating, man. The ride and the interview. Yes, with Mark and Dan from Swashbucklers Ball in Portland, Oregon. That's happening this Saturday, November 11th. So if you can hustle your way out to Portland, Oregon, you can get there too. If you want to find out more about Swashbucklers Ball, go to swashbucklersball.com and you can get your tickets there and all that kind of good stuff. And that discount we offered, use the coupon code Crossbones. That's the coupon code Crossbones, and you can get $5 off your ticket to the Swashbucklers Ball for this coming Saturday, November 11th. Yeah, I'm a little out of breath after the roller coaster. That was pretty cool. If you want to find out more about Mark Axton's group, The Outrageous Fortune, go to theoutrageousfortune.com. And if you want to find out more about Dan's group, PDXYAR, go to pdxyar.org. That's YAR with one R, because he doesn't know how to spell it. YAR is supposed to have like 16 R's on it, isn't it? That doesn't make any sense. But pdxyar.org. We're sponsored today, of course, by Pirate Radio, the Treasure Coast, WKKC-DB, playing the best music and pirate radio talk. Listen to Under the Crossbones on both their stations. Just go to pirateradiothetreasurecoast.com or pirateradiotc.com. And don't forget to download their apps. That's the Pirate Radio Treasure Coast app for the music and Pirate Radio Talk for the talk station. You know the other stuff. There's an ebook you can grab at the website, all that, show notes, all that kind of good stuff. Go to underthecrossbones.com/116, and you can get all the action there. That is our show for today, friends. I am wrapping up my day here at Disney World. I'm going to go on Pirates of the Caribbean one more time before I get out of here and go talk to the rest of the crew from Rusty Cutlass. That's cool. That's still coming tonight, and you're going to hear those interviews in a few weeks. It's going to be all good. So again, go to swashbucklersball.com and get your tickets for the Swash Ball this November 11th. That's this Saturday at the Melody Ballroom, Portland, Oregon. Use the coupon code Crossbones for $5 off a GA ticket. Yes. Mark Axton, his group is at theoutrageousfortune.com. Dan Clark is at pdxyar.org. Go get it. Lots of cool episodes coming up soon. I'm going to go ride some Pirates of the Caribbean. I'll see you guys next week.